Hello, good morning, or good evening, or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world watching on Teal Tuesday. It's hot off the press, and I can hear the collective sigh of disappointment that it's just me sat here. But don't worry, don't turn off, because we do have a very special guest about to join us. It's the man they love to hate, Jake the Snake. Can you please welcome Bernard Curry?
Hello, everybody!
Yay!
Hello, Bertie! How are you,
How are you
everyone?
doing?
I'm really well, John. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, really good actually. Enjoying these Tuesday nights, having regular chats with everyone after the show.
Teal
Um,
Tuesday, baby. Teal Tuesday.
Indeed. Now, okay, I will start off talking about the theme of redemption because obviously that was very big in the first part of this season 8,
Yep.
but not clearly not just for the inmates because Jake is certainly going through his own redemption. How do you feel about
Yeah,
that?
it's been actually a really great sort of story arc for Jake in this final stretch towards the end of our whole series, because it was really fun playing the villain. Back in series 5, 4, 5, 6, 7. It was sort of like the people like you were saying, the people that everyone loved to hate. The person that everyone loved to hate was Jake. Even my wife Sonia would be, we'd be watching because we're both big fans of the show, and that's a really great. That's actually one of the most unique parts about working on this show is that everybody who works on it, whether it's the actors or the crew, cast and the whole like production crew, everyone's a fan of the show. So it's a really big, big part of the kind of ownership that everyone has for it. But yeah, my wife and I were watching the show look back in the day, and she'd be like, "I hate you right now. You are sleeping on the couch. How can you do that to Vera?" And I was getting people in the streets coming up to me and saying like, "Oh, I don't like you, mate. I don't like you at all. You better treat Vera better," and da da da. And now we've got this, like I said, this great story of redemption, which is Jake kind of, proving to himself for a start, but also really to Vera that he can be a father to baby Grace. I mean, I think in terms of the grandest story of redemption, I don't think he feels as though there's a relationship that he can have with Vera, like in terms of being a couple anymore. But certainly being a family, he certainly sees that as something in his future, and he still wants to be a father. So he's trying to prove himself to Vera, and in the great part about Jake is that he does slip up from time to time. He always kind of, we see him in the car with Jane Hall's character with what's her name? With Anne, sorry, and so he slips up from time to time, but at the same time, we can see him really trying, and we can see him, and I think this episode's been a big one for the redemption of Jake because Vera sort of steps over to the dark side, and you see what she is capable of to protect her daughter from this monster, this monster that is Ferguson. And she's prepared to go all the way over to cross the line. And that was always, Jake's kind of territory. He's the sort of guy he's a duplicitous character who's prepared to cross the line to survive, for his own survival, to protect himself or protect the people that he loves. And we see Vera now taking that kind of mantle as someone who's willing to cross the line.
Yeah.
And Jake then becomes the sort of the voice of reason in that almost, and he becomes her protector in a sort of a roundabout way. So it's been a big episode for Jake in terms of the redemption for sure.
Yeah, there's been several moments where we've seen Vera in that mother lion position, just completely protective. I'm thinking, obviously tonight. And of course, during the riot a few seasons ago, where she just takes out one of the inmates as they're up by the babies.
Yeah.
How has it been working with an infant on set? That must be quite difficult.
Yeah. Well, it was. we were blessed to have this little girl, and she played the mate. We had a couple of babies that they had sort of cast as similar looking babies. Sometimes you can tell, you can say, that doesn't look like exactly the same baby as they had. It was like if the first baby was sort of unsettled, or was kind of wasn't really into it, then we could switch out the babies. But majority of the time we had this one little baby who was just, it was almost like, Kate Atkinson and I were like, it's almost like she knows the cameras are rolling. She might be crying, and then they sort of say, and action, and she starts to kind of coo and be really super cute and stuff like that. It's always going to be hard to work with babies in that sense, but we did it. We managed pretty well, and she was fantastic. In fact, here's a little bit of a story. I don't know how much I should be giving away, but this might be. It's not really a spoiler, but it's certainly a behind the scenes kind of tidbit that nobody knows about. So
as long as it doesn't spoil the next 2 episodes, that's fine.
No, it won't. It's simply about that scene. It's simply about that scene where Vera pours the borax into Ferguson's milk.
Yep.
That scene, because we shot it last year, and it was in the height of stage 4 restrictions in Melbourne, right? So we had been shooting for a while, and then COVID happened, and we shut down production, shut it all down. That was about 3 months, and then we came back with these kind of really strict COVID protocols for shooting drama. And in fact, we were apart from Neighbours, and Neighbours were doing really, really, kind of really homogenized drama to be able to had actors standing 2 meters apart, and they couldn't stand within, so they would shoot them over the shoulder to make them appear like they were standing closer to each other. And we all had, it was really cool. We had a great solidarity with all of the cast. We had all these Zoom meetings, and they were developing this document, this kind of COVID protocol document for as when we're going to go back into shooting. And we were, as a collective, the actors got together and said, we're not prepared to make a show, the show that we want to make, which is Wentworth, under those conditions of we can't be standing there. We need to be there. We need to be punching people and kissing people and fucking people and spitting on people, and that's what Wentworth is. So we're not. So we came up with this other kind of pretty complete document about in terms of the protocols, and we got through it. We actually got through another 12 and a half weeks of shooting without one problem, not one issue, which was great. But there was some sacrifices that had to be made, and one of them was, as you will notice, we don't see the baby in this final season. It's because of those COVID protocols and stuff. They, to bring a baby into the set and everything would have been hard in terms of actually holding it. There was a baby that Boomer was engaging with in the visitor centre, but they were actually her parents, and they brought the baby in, and they were separated from them, and then they kind of left. So there was the scene that takes place in Vera's office where she pours the borax into the milk, and then I take the milk, and then I'm about to go and drink it. Was actually scripted in Vera's house. She pours she's got the milk there, and then I'm looking. I take over looking after Grace, and then I've got Grace in my arms, and I'm about to give Grace the milk.
Right.
And they were obviously much higher stakes. I mean, than Jake. It's either Grace dying or Jake dying or whatever. But we really wanted to shoot that scene. We really wanted to do it, and they were like, we just can't. First of all, we can't shoot off campus. So all of the prison and all of the executive offices and all that stuff were on this. You've been there, John, on this one campus where everything was enclosed and everything was isolated. If we were to shoot off, out onto a location somewhere, and Vera's house was on a location which was around the corner, so they wouldn't allow us to do that. And then there was the issue of actually having a baby, holding a baby and stuff in that, me holding a strange, another person's baby in those COVID sort of protocols, and we just couldn't make it work. So Marcia Gardner, and the script team kind of got together and had to do a little rewrite of that whole thing. But you can see that some of those sacrifices had to be made, and nobody actually knows about that. That's I've just made that public. I'm not sure if I've broken any rules, but it's an interesting.
No, it's really it's interesting about the dynamics of actually making a TV show anyway, but in particularly difficult circumstances. I think production company and you guys should be applauded for that, for actually taking the challenge and going, right, we can't do this, but this is how we'll adapt it.
That's right. And when you watch the show, you don't even think about it. You're just watching the drama, and it it's still Wentworth, and it still makes sense. Yeah. You don't realize how much extra stuff had to go on behind the scenes. Who wants to meet my dog?
Yeah, definitely.
Here we go. This is Barbara.
Hello there. How old? Marlborough.
Barbara.
Barbara. I thought Marlborough like a cigarette.
Barbara. Little Barbara.
How old's Barbara?
She's 6 months.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've got a border terrier in the other room.
She's a border terrier.
Right. Hello there.
Hello. Oh yes, I know. Oh, all right.
So you just mentioned the scene with Boomer in the visiting suite.
Yes.
With the baby. Lovely scene, and a lovely tender moment between Jake and Boomer. A rare tender moment between them.
Yeah.
Just a little subtle, and I thought it was lovely.
Yeah, you know what? When I was because I actually haven't seen the episode, so I was watching it last night for the first time too, and I was like, it felt to me like that scene followed pretty hard, like it was the next scene after he just found out that Ferguson, had the passport for Grace and everything. So I was kind of like, oh, it's like he doesn't seem particularly perturbed by it anymore. But at the same time, it was a really great moment, and yeah, it was one of those. There's a few little kind of moments like that, and Boomer and Jake have had a little bit of a, a bit of a story with each other where they've but Jake's tried to help Boomer out on a couple of occasions, with the conjugal room and stuff like that, and she obviously helped to deliver baby Grace, so he's kind of there is a connection, I think, there between Jake and Boomer, and we see those sorts of things from time to time with Jake where we really see the humanity in him, and I think that's really important because we know where he's been, we know what he's capable of, but to see those really human moments in Jake, I think, are really important. This was similar to when he was dancing with Lizzie Birdsworth in a few seasons back, doing the tango with Lizzie and stuff.
Which, funny enough, has just come up along the bottom of the screen from Zoe at the very moment she mentioned it. Look at that. Serendipity.
Yeah. Hi, Zoe.
Perfect timing. Well done.
Yeah.
Right. So, sorry, you're saying about the scene with Liz. That is a real fan favourite, that moment.
Oh, it is, and I think it's, and it was actually a real favourite of mine too, because it was one of those moments where and I think it was one of the early moments of true redemption for Jake, and it wasn't, and he wasn't. You could see that he wasn't doing it for any other reason than he was doing it just for Liz. You know what I mean? And you could see that he wasn't doing it, and even though Vera she saw it, he didn't know she was watching, so he wasn't doing it for any kind of showboating, or he wasn't doing it to make any point to Vera or anything. It was just because it was out of pure compassion. I think that's why we see those moments for Jake that people go, oh, maybe he's not such a bad guy at all, and so that was important for me as an actor as well, to kind of have that connection with the character, to feel that humanity in the character and stuff. So yeah, it was really awesome.
It's funny, here we are talking about all of Jake's positive sides and his redemption. I was thinking earlier today about how Linda has become the harshest officer at the moment, but I think Jake started her down that path when you were in that van and you went off to the drugs money, and I think Jake was the first inkling of pushing her down that route.
When in the van.
Yeah, Jake and Linda go off on a detour to get the drugs money. Not long after you'd first joined.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, that was a long time ago. Yeah, right. That's right. So yeah, and there's also yeah, that's right. I think it's also I think for the whole Linda thing, I think they're exploring that PTSD thing from the siege. You know what I mean? And showing how sometimes those sorts of things can affect people, in a really deep way. But yes, but that's very sentient of you, John, to look that far back and see that, those sorts of things can be precursors to behaviours, 6 seasons down the track. Yeah.
Hey, that's how sad I am.
No, I know, that's right. In fact, I actually have to give props to you, John. I've been to one of these, we've been to a couple of little events together and everything. You actually know the show better than anyone, including the people who work on the show. So,
wow.
Good on you.
I think that's the nature of being a fan rather than being a member of the cast. Now, one of the other massive storylines for you this season has, of course, been with Eve Wilder.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
How was it working with Tina?
Oh, she was incredible. She was incredible. I mean, it was a kind of a thrill for me, to work with, she's a real legend. She's a legend of Australian film and TV, and I've seen her in so many things, and then for her to come on a set, and she's such a a beautiful, sweet person, and really humble as well. So it was just an honor. It was an honor to work with her, and then this sort of there was this sort of three-way tryst again. I like how the show does those little kind of it kind of triangular kind of relationships with people. Like we explored it way back in the day between Vera, Jake, and Ferguson, and that was kind of I guess an homage to Les Liaisons Dangereuses, which is that kind of the dangerous liaisons sort of story. But there's a lot of these trysts, and that they have, which is between like three, sometimes between three characters. And I really like the fact that there was that dynamic between Ferguson and then Eve Wilder and Jake and stuff. And it was, again, Ferguson was sort of being the puppet master again. So it's, there was one of the questions before actually I saw on the screen. It was like, how amazing has it been working with Pamela Rabe? And again, so Tina Bursell is one thing, and she's wonderful, and just working with everybody in the cast is just a thrill. But yeah, Pamela Rabe is someone that I had admired for so long. I've watched her in plays. Like she has done more plays than you can possibly imagine. It's amazing how she gets there, where she finds the time and the energy, but she's an incredible stage presence, as you can imagine, on stage. And then to be able to, to step on set with her and to be dancing, you know what I mean? And feel like and she, everybody basically accepted me into that cast as a peer, rather than there was never any hierarchy in terms of skill set of actors. It was just like, all right, everybody's up here. Let's just get everyone up to that high echelon of acting sort of prowess and commitment. And I felt like it was a wonderful platform for me to be able to step up into a higher kind of dimension of performance, So she's helped me, and everybody in this cast has helped me to become a better actor and a better person. And the whole experience for me has been probably the most rewarding professional experience of my whole career. So, I can't say how much it's appreciated by me,
So we talked about working with Pam, and you were together in quite a surreal and funny scene where you have the multiple deaths of Jake. Where he's bumped off several times.
Yeah.
How did that evolve? Was that initially scripted exactly the same way as we saw it on screen?
Oh yeah. It was scripted exactly like that in that you kind of whenever you get the scripts because we shoot the series in blocks, which is 2-episode blocks. So a director will direct 2 episodes, and then the next block will be another director directing 2 episodes. So you can see always, say Kevin Carlin is directing the first, he'll always direct the second one. So every 2 episodes, you'll see a director, direct two of the episodes. So you get the 2 scripts as a block to read, and when I'm reading it, it says Ferguson and Jake walk into the lift together. Ferguson standing, and she grabs Jake by the hand and rips his head around, neck around, and he falls to the ground. You go, oh no, because you just never know. It's like it's that sort of Game of Thrones kind of effect where you just don't know. When Dan Cormack was reading that script where it says, she does this and says I win and she dies, she's like, oh my God, okay, right. I think she was probably told earlier than reading the scripts, but sometimes you don't know. So yeah, there was a few of those little kind of heart-stopping moments for me where I was like, oh God, no, really? No, yeah, it was. They were great fun. They were great fun to shoot all those scenes, and all those, some of my favourite scenes. One of my favourite scenes, actually, another comment that came up was what are some of your favourite scenes? The scene where Kath Maxwell is in the kind of psych ward, and I come in and I'm like, listen, you can be Kath, you can be Joan, I don't care, as long as you stay there. If you are Joan and you're pretending to be Kath Maxwell, just keep pretending, I don't mind, that sort of thing. There was that scene, and she was being really like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, and he's kind of like, oh, just trying to work out whether she's lying or not. I mean, there was so much subtext in that scene and kind of nuance and everything. It was, it was a beautiful, fun scene to shoot.
Now, you've also been involved in a slightly separate Wentworth project, taking the show onto audio.
Oh yeah, yes.
So how did that project come about?
Yeah, so we The Fall Girl, Wentworth. It's called The Fall Girl. Yeah, Wentworth, The Fall Girl. So we were approached by a team of creatives who had this idea, and I think they initially approached the production and sort of said, "Look, we'd like to do something like this as a little bit of a spin-off kind of thing." It was, I guess you call it a podcast, but it's that sort of classical radio play, and it's which is really amazing to kind of go back to that format, because I think that's how drama used to be, right? I mean, before television, so the 20s, 30s, 40s, before television even happened, was radio plays. People would sit around the wireless and kind of listen to these wonderful actors, kind of like, and that, and you can imagine all the actors standing around a microphone and putting on a play. It was a radio play, and people were kind of like, oh man, this is amazing, I'm listening to this amazing, they had sound effects and stuff like that, and at the time they had to do it all live, so they were doing sound effects live, and back in the day. But this new kind of iteration of the radio play was, is a spin-off of Wentworth. And it's just great. I mean, it comes up really beautifully, and it's this sort of thing that isn't done very much, but I think the storytelling is still there. The actual it's all about storytelling. The whole thing about Wentworth itself is, and even from Prisoner, is it's about the storytelling. It's about the characters, and it's about the situation, and about there's certain themes that are so prevalent through the course of Wentworth. The themes of survival, right? The themes of family. What will you do for your family, or how do you make family when your family aren't around? Sort of isolation, and then survival, and kind of what will you do to survive? In this situation, and the same themes are prevalent in this, and it's you can just sit down and listen to it. And even though you're not getting the images, you're kind of creating the images yourself, which is, that's part of, like when you read a book, you're reading a book and it's only words, but really when you read the books, you are creating the imagery in your mind, which is a kind of a mind exercise in itself. And that's why people love to read so much. But yeah, so it was this great kind of, storytelling thing. And we luckily I've got a little music studio here in my home in Melbourne, and I've got a vocal booth that I've built just here, which is like a full kind of capsule thing. And I open the door and go in there, and I've got my microphone and my headphones, and it's all soundproof. And so it was really, I was able to just do it, in an afternoon. I got into the studio and we just ran through all these little bits and pieces, and then they assemble all those things. And it's really come up wonderfully, and it's had a great response too, and almost to the point of those sorts of spin-off things work, and I've had a lot of people who are fans of the show say, oh man, there just has to be a spin-off out of this show, and some sort of I applaud the producers for finishing when they have finished in the way that they have, because it does give, and I can't give anything away obviously at the end, but it is really, it is the end. You know what I mean? You can tell it's the end, and it's all finished. So, does something else come out of that? Well, something else already has, and that's a little kind of little radio play podcast thing. Who knows if there's something else that comes out of it down the track as well, in terms of any other TV work.
Just to avoid confusion, if anyone's listening thinking, hang on, what's the audio play version? It's not a continuation, is it? Or it doesn't take place elsewhere. It's in Wentworth, but it slots in between seasons 7 and 8. So
yes, it's a parallel story, a parallel story sort of thing, So really, within Wentworth, you're really only seeing the kind of the microcosm of H1 and H5, which is the two sort of cell blocks, and the relationships between the characters that are in those things. But clearly, a prison has many more people in it than just those kind of central characters. So it's a parallel story that takes place around the same time, and obviously the guards and some of the other characters are in it, and then we've got some other new characters as well. So it sort of takes place around that time.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to say much more about that. We'll move on to something else. But I would say there was one scene, even listening to the story on audio, made me feel very queasy and made my stomach.
I know what that scene is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. As a guy, yes.
Oh my God. Yeah. I had to have a little sit down after that scene.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're nearly at the end, I'm afraid. But so at the end of 8 seasons or one extended season, where do you think Jake is?
I like to say 9.
9. What do you think Jake wants for his life? I mean, who knows? He may not come out of this alive. He may do it. We don't. But at this point, how does he see his life going on? What's his aim, do you think?
At this point, I think it's really clear. I think Jake simply wants to. I think he really has a great desire and a great need to be a father, and to be someone who could be seen as a real positive influence and a role model, and someone who can love his daughter as much as her mother loves her daughter. So it's I think that's the thing that's motivating him the most. I think it's something that that sort of overtakes all else. And obviously there's this situation at the moment which has always been, which is Ferguson. And that's who knows whether there's one last ditch effort to kind of to make that situation go away. But that seems to be the only real impediment to a kind of a life where he can be a father, you know what I mean, and be a a partner, like not necessarily a life partner, but a partner to Vera in terms of being, sharing the parenthood with her of Grace. And does he have ambitions within the prison system to go higher? Possibly, but I think I feel as though he's turned a corner in terms of the the illegal sort of stuff that he will do to further himself, and perhaps when you look at someone in management, that's the sort of person that you I think that you need in management, someone who has seen all of those tricks that are used in terms of smuggling drugs into a prison, someone who knows not just the structured and the rule book side of prison management, but someone who's seen all of those other sides of it that are clandestine or that are not part of the rules. I think that's someone that would you would want to actually run a prison, because they know both sides, they know all sides. So yeah, I mean, look, I think he certainly has the leadership qualities and the smarts and the wherewithal to be able to move higher in the management structure of the prison. So that's but I think primarily it's about being a father.
Yeah, it's interesting. We started this evening's channel for me this evening about redemption, and we have seen the bad boy go from that place to now someone who sits at home and Googles Nanny Wilder. I think that's a lovely image.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's true redemption, isn't it, John?
It really is.
That's right.
Now, we're going to finish in a very different way than our previous chats on Half the Press, because we're going to finish with a song. We're not going to put the pressure on you to do a live performance now, but last year you and your brothers worked on a project together, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah. So my brothers and I and some other friends and stuff got together. I sort of had the initial idea because I was, previous to COVID, I was performing in a live a stage production, and it was called The End of the Line, the music of the Travelling Wilburys. And it was me and four other musicians on stage, were kind of performers. And the first sort of half of our show was a sort of storytelling show, a musical storytelling part of the show, where we kind of would tell the story about how the Travelling Wilburys came about. George Harrison got together with his drinking buddies, Bob Dylan, Roy Orbison, Tom Petty, and Jeff Lynne, and kind of started up this whole band. And they got together and they produced these albums and stuff. And it was this whole story about how, and as it went, it was not like we were playing, it's not like I was playing George Harrison and someone else was playing Jeff Lynne. We were just telling the story, and through the course of the storytelling, we would play some of the original songs from Tom Petty or from Bob Dylan. And my thing was, we just imagine, the stage is dark. You've got these 5 performers sitting on stage with their guitars in their hands, and then the lights come up. Lights just come up on me. It's just one spot on me, and I tell a story about, 1986. George Harrison got together with some of his drinking buddies, and but before I actually say that, the lights come up on me, and I just start kind of noodling this. Oh, hang on a second, let's have a look at this. Here we go. I'll do it here, right? Where's my?
That's all the dogs are from this, Steve. Then
have we got time for this?
Oh, go for it! Yeah.
Yeah. This will give you the idea about where this song came from, right? Actually, I'll do it a bit. So yeah, the lights come up on me on stage, and I just start noodling this little thing, right? And it's like, and nobody really knows what song it's about to start. Yeah. so then so everybody knows what song it is, of course, because it's so iconic. And then I sort of launch into the little song, this little version of "Here Comes the Sun." Anyway, I kind of had that idea, and then when the whole COVID thing hit, and Melbourne became we went into this really hard lockdown and stuff, and it was really, really tough for everybody, and homeschooling and isolation, and it was, we're still actually right now we're still in this incredible lockdown. We've got curfew, we can't see our friends, we can't see our families. It's really tough. So I kind of had this idea of putting a version of "Here Comes the Sun" together, because to me, and at this time last year as well, it was, in Australia, we're coming into summer. So we're coming into the time when Melbourne becomes, you've got the AFL football grand final, you've got the spring racing carnival, which is Melbourne Cup, and kind of all these kind of, the horse racing, and people come out and it's all these events and stuff. And then it's like Christmas and those in summertime. And to the feeling of "Here Comes the Sun" is kind of like, for me, is we're coming out of lockdown, everybody's coming together, the sun's coming out, we're all able to get out. And so I sort of put this little song together, and we asked some well-known friends and kind of acquaintances to sort of say, hey, can you give a little shout out to Melbourne, as like we've done it really tough, and it's been really it's been really, really tough, but we've all done this together. We've done it for each other, and we need to sort of, just say thank you to each other. And this is our way of saying thank you to Melbourne for all of the hard work. And now we're coming out, and here comes the sun. And now, in fact, just a week or two ago, Melbourne actually, again, we're back in this lockdown, Melbourne became the most locked down city ever in the world in the whole COVID process, So it's been really, really hard for everybody, and it's kind of, and mental health is also such a big issue at the moment because, for obvious reasons, people are kind of really suffering and stuff. I'm an ambassador for a mental health charity called 1 in 5. And so we're trying to do lots of, kind of work at the moment. And actually, Sunday was International Mental Health Day, and this month of October is Mental Health Month. And so, mental health is really at the forefront of everything at the moment, and looking after each other, and looking after everybody else, and looking after yourself. So, we just did this thing, and we kind of said, look, and we weren't pushing an agenda. We weren't trying to sell anything. We weren't trying to ask people to buy or put money into anything. We just put this together. We put it out there, and we said, Melbourne, this is for you, and it's just a way of us saying we appreciate how hard it's been for everybody, and we just we want to thank you. We want everybody else to thank everybody else, because we all did this together. So
well, that's how we're going to finish, with a little ray of sunshine.
Yes.
And before we play it, though, I just want to say, obviously, thank you very much for brightening up our day by coming on for a chat, and quite frankly, just for that shirt.
Oh, right, there you go. It's a little bit of sunshine and everything, isn't it? You've got here comes the sun. Here comes the springtime.
Buddy, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
And
see you, everybody. Yeah, see you soon in the UK for sure.
And this is where